So this second example, they absolutely love to throw into the mix when they've realised they need to get an extra few marks, because it catches people out. There aren't many practice questions like this. They're actually more realistic than the easier examples, so it's really good to make sure you have spotted that these are slightly different. It says James and his sister Alison each delivered 30 papers on their evening rounds and each paid the same amount. One evening, Alison claims that this system of equal payment to be unfair as her round takes on average more than 5 minutes longer. So this bit is where it's important. She's not just saying that her round takes longer. This is not just mu A is greater than mu B. This is that it is more than 5 minutes longer. That 5 minutes is really important, and that needs to be included in our hypotheses, and it needs to be included in our test statistic. To test her claim, their father, unknown to them, records the delivery time for 12 consecutive days. One of Alison's times had to be discounted as the front tyre of her bicycle was punctured. That there is just to emphasise that it's not paired data. The recorded times are in minutes below. Assuming each child's delivery are normally distributed with the same known standard deviation of 5 minutes, investigate whether Alison's claim is justified. So, like I say, there is that extra bit in here where it's talking about not just Alison is more, but she's 5 minutes more. So again, using my blue boxes which are grey for the purpose of this, it says, what are my variables? So my variables in this question are what we are measuring, and I am saying let X be the time taken to deliver the papers. So this is where it gets a little bit different. So we've said previously that mu A equals mu B, and for clarification for the examiner I want to tell them that A, I'm going to confuse myself now, is James because he's first, and B is Alison. Now Alison is claiming, I'll just write it like this, that her round takes longer, so that Alison is bigger than James, but not just bigger, bigger by 5 minutes. So I need to put onto my hypothesis that this is mu A less than mu B plus 5, and that's this 5 minutes, if you can see just in the shadow here. Again, it's a one-tailed test, and it does tell me, which I haven't highlighted, that it is the 5% level of significance. So I want to include that over there. My two sample means I need to calculate. So looking at James first, he was 45, 30, 39, 32, 34, 43, 38, 35, 43, 39, 32 and 34, and there are 12 values there, so that gives me his mean of 37. And for Alison, we have 53, 46, 43, 49, 42, 53, 47, 40, 37, 45 and 40, and she only had 11 times if you remember correctly, so her average is 45. Like we said before, mu is unknown, doesn't really matter, we don't need it for this. And my standard deviations, it said both of them had a standard deviation of 5, so I'm going to include that in there. Variance is 5 squared. If my standard deviation is 5, my variance is 5 squared, so it's really important to know the difference between those two. And there are 12 values for James and 11 values for Alison. So my critical value, I'm going to get back out table 4. It is a one-tailed test and it is 5% significance level. So I am looking up 0.95. On my table 4 I go down to 0.95 and I get 1.6449. So Z is 1.6449. Because this is a less than question, I'm looking at the lower tail, so it is negative 1.6449. So this is where the test statistic is a little bit trickier. For my test statistic, I am going to do x bar minus y bar, so 37 take away 45. And then minus, I am no longer saying that, oh, I've missed off my +5, I do apologise from up here. I am no longer saying that those two those two means are equal. I am saying that they are equal if this one is 5 bigger. So as I do mu A take away mu B, if I was to rearrange this equation here, and I will rearrange it, let's do it in another colour so you can see that it's a slightly separate thing. If I was to rearrange that equation, then mu A take away mu B would be 5 rather than 0. So when I put this in the calculator, I now need a take away 5 on the top rather than 0. On the bottom of the fraction, I stay the same. I have my 5 squared over 12 plus 5 squared over 11, and I'm going to square root to the bottom of that fraction. And again, I'm going to show you how to put this in on the calculator really clearly, so we're not making any silly mistakes. I press my fraction button, then the top of the fraction is bracket 37 minus 45 bracket. Take away, instead of 0, I'm taking away 5 from this rearranged equation up here. Then I go down to the bottom of the fraction, I press square root and I press the fraction button, and then I can do 5 squared excuse me, over 12 plus fraction button again, 5 squared over 11. Go to the end of the fraction and get your test statistic. So for this question, my test statistic is minus 6.2287 if I round it. Now obviously this is much larger because I've got that minus 5 on the top. Everything from here on in is exactly the same. I compare, I've got a ruler, with my normal distribution. And I put on my critical value, which was minus 1.6449, and I look where my test statistic lies. It'll be all the way over here, really low down. I accept in the belly, I reject in the tail, so I reject H0. H0 said that they were equal, with hers being that 5 minutes longer. We're saying, that is not true. No, sirree. So, we are agreeing with Alison's claim, or we're saying there is evidence. There is significant evidence to suggest. Now, I'm going to do the cheats way here. Because of the way this question is worded, I don't have to use loads of content. I can just say that there is significant evidence to suggest Alison's claim is true. And there we go. Again, I'll just hold the camera up so you can see that full answer, hopefully not in the shade. There we go. Terrible attempt at not in the shadows. So slightly more marks for this one because you would have had to have had that 5 on your hypotheses. You'd have had to have that 5 on there. So this one would definitely be worth a few more marks. Make sure you've written down both those examples and have a go at the questions on Google Classroom.